Here we have 13 real estate prices, and we're going to calculate the quartiles. I know the instructions up there say to calculate the IQR. We haven't talked about that yet. Let's just calculate the quartiles with this data. Data is given here, and we have it ordered. Since we have 13 data values, if I take 13 and divide by 2, I get 6.5. That means the 7th value in this data set is going to be my median, or Q2, my second quartile. Once I find the median, now I look at the lower half and the upper half of my data. The way that we calculate quartiles is we ignore that median. It's been selected, so we do not include it in our counting of finding the middle for these other two sets. Technology does count it, so that's why we have to be careful when we're switching between them. So in the first half of my data, I have 6 values, so I want my Q1 to sit here in the middle between values 3 and 4. So to find Q1, I need to take 230,500 plus 387,000 and divide by 2. Divide by 2, I get 308,750 for my first quartile. For my third quartile, I repeat this process on the upper half of the data. I want the number that falls in the middle of that upper half. So Q3 is going to be 639,000 plus 659,000 divided by 2. So 649,000 is my Q3. We can use technology to order our data and then potentially do it by hand. Or we can use technology to order our data, find the median, and then only select the first half and the second half and find the medians of those sets for our Q1 and Q3. Here's what I mean by that. Let's take that same real estate price data. Here I have it inserted in my Google Sheet. This is the same Google Sheet that's shared above when we did our percentile calculations. And the first thing we're going to do is select our data and sort it. Except, I forgot, it doesn't like sorting by rows, it likes sorting by columns. So I'm going to copy my data and paste it transposed. Transposed just means take the data from a row and turn it into a column. So I take my data, I turn it into a column. I'm going to delete my top row because that was my original data. So here I have my data in column A, and I'm going to sort sheet by column A. A to Z means we're going smallest to largest. So we'll sort the sheet, column A, smallest to largest. These values should match up with what we have in the textbook. I'll set up some labels for calculating this by hand. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my median. Even though Q1 is above, I find the median first. So we'll type in median and select our data. And we find that median here at that 488,800. I'm going to change the color just so that it's a little bit easier to identify. There's my Q2, and we'll match our color over here so that we have it. Then to find Q1, I'm going to show you what happens if I use the Google quartile function as well, but I'm going to do the Q1 and Q3 calculations here just like we did them by hand. Find the median of the halves of the data set. So median this time again, but now I'm only going to select the first half of the values, not including the median. And there I have the same value that we got by hand, 308,750. And then I'll repeat it, median of the second half of the data, so after the median. And there's my 649,000, the same value that we got before. Now, if I use the Google's or Excel's quartile function, the quartile takes the values, and then you have to give it the quartile. So if I do quartile 2, for example, this is finding my median. So I'm going to move this down here so that it's parallel with my median. It's the same value. This makes sense. The median is Q2. But if we try quartile again Oh, and I do want to point something out. Notice I have two different values here, EXC and INC. We're going to see which one matches what we need. To find quartile 1, I'm going to select all my data and put a 1 there. Notice how this one's a little bit different. These two values are not the same. And that's because we have two different ways of calculating a quartile with technology. Quartile.inc including and quartile.exc meaning excluding. So remember before when I told you to exclude the median? When we exclude the median and calculate quartile 1, we're finding the median of the first half of the data set. So the exc function matches our hand calculation of quartile 1. So we can use technology, we just have to make sure that we use the exc function for our quartile, not the inc or just the straight quartile function like this one is, quartile, because these both are including the median in that calculation. It would be like this. And I know I have a lot of numbers here, I'm going to delete quite a few of them, or move them over so they're out of the way. If I were to calculate the median of the data values, but I include the median, notice we did not do this by hand, but if I do this, there's the match to our quartile.inc function. So for our class, when we're calculating the quartiles with technology, we want to make sure we use the quartile.exc function. And when we do that, we put in the data and then the quartile number. We're doing quartile 1, so we would put a 1 after the comma, as seen here. Fabulous. There's our technology.